I've been following this campaign very, very closely over the past couple of weeks and months. I don't know who to believe. That's, I think, is what a lot of people's main problems here. Do you promise today to tell us the truth?
Absolutely.
So
Good.
the first question I'll ask you, just to test you...
Come on.
Do you want to be Prime Minister?
I want David Cameron to be Prime Minister. And I want him to go on, and he can and should, I think, take us through after we take back control, which I hope we'll do on Thursday, and take back control of our economy, of our democracy. I think David Cameron is the ideal guy to do the renegotiation that is going to be necessary.
You can understand why people ask that question, because it wasn't that long ago, a few months ago, that in the Telegraph you did a whole article about the fact that actually we would benefit from staying in Europe, and suddenly you appear to have changed your mind. And is that just part of your sort of plan to get yourself into number 10?
No, Holly, if you look at that article, it ended with a resounding conclusion that we'd prosper mightily outside, which was indeed the view of the Prime Minister only a few months ago, when he was saying, you know, we were going to get all this scaremongering and people would say we'd be worse off. Actually, he said then that we could do very well outside the European Union, we could do trade deals, and there would be scaremongering. We're now seeing, I'm afraid, quite a lot of, I think, quite panic-stricken stuff from the Remain campaign. And I think there's a fantastic opportunity on Thursday. Take back control of so many things, so many aspects of our lives and of our democracy, and a chance to believe in ourselves. We're a great country. We do things fantastically well, and I don't think we've got anything remotely to be afraid of. And what I think will happen, actually, on Thursday is that there will be a great period of calm, because all the Project Fear stuff will suddenly be over. And it was the head of the Remain campaign himself, Stuart Rose, who said there wouldn't be an economic shock at all. What you would see is people on low incomes getting a pay rise. The problem is, you do sort of seem to change your mind, because, I mean, in that article you did say it would be better if we stayed in Europe, and you've also said things about bananas and the restrictions and that we can't sell curved bananas. If that article, I don't know which article you're referring to, but that article ended with a resounding conclusion that we do very well outside. And on bananas, which I've been attacked about.
Yes.
And they sent a gorilla, or person dressed in a gorilla suit to kind of monster me. How many directives do you think there are from the European Union on bananas? There are 4. Do we need them? Do we need to be told that you cannot have, you know, abnormal curvature of your bananas? We have. But
they don't actually say that, do they? They give you 3. They give you the 3 options for the companies who sell them, but they don't actually say you can't sell them at all.
No, one of them says that there should not be abnormal curvature of the fingers of the on the bunches, and I think that's a trivial example of the kind of massive amounts of regulation that we're getting from Brussels, and that costs UK business about £600 million a week. Now, I think we'd be better off out. We could take back control of huge sums of money, about £10.5 billion a year net. We could spend £100 million a week more on our NHS, which we can't do at the moment. This money's going all around.
What does it do for me as a mum? There's lots of families out there. The day that we wake up in the morning, say you've got your way, what happens to us individually as families?
I think everybody over time would be much better off. We could do free trade deals with the growth economies around the world. We could take back control of our whole way of making laws, so we weren't getting stuff imposed on us from Brussels, from other European countries. We could take back control of our immigration policy, so we had one that was balanced and fair.
Yeah, the immigration thing is interesting. Hattie said if we leave the EU and immigration is dramatically stopped, who will do all the jobs that immigrants currently do? British citizens don't want to do the low-paid, possibly thankless task. What will happen there?
Actually, I don't agree with that, with your correspondent about what British people want to do. I think people do want to do jobs. People who are here now would, of course, have their rights protected and under all sorts of treaties. So EU workers here, and indeed British citizens working abroad would have their rights protected. There's no problem there. What I think is that the system is very, very unfair, particularly to people who want to come from outside the EU. And they may be very talented. There may be people who are brilliant at software engineering or paramedics or whatever it happens to be from India or Australia, wherever. They can't get in, but we have no control whatever over huge numbers coming from the 27 other EU countries. And last year, as you saw in the figures, we had 184,000 net from the EU, 77,000 who came across without even having a job to come to. Now, I'm pro-immigration. I believe in immigration. But I think what people feel is that it would be better if there was an Australian-style points-based system so that for our economy, you could get the people that we actually need to do the job. So your question is a good one, or the question that we're being asked is a good one.
I'm glad you approve, finally.
But it's a good one.
It was actually Hattie's question.
Hattie's question.
Yeah.
I think Hattie's right. We could still
You
get...
just told us she was wrong.
You could still get people in to
You
do
do
those
change your
jobs.
mind a lot, back to my initial point.
You could still get... No, I think she's wrong in saying that they'd be sent back. That wouldn't happen.
So she's half wrong.
But you could still have people coming in, provided they had a job to go to, and provided that they had talents and skills that were useful for the UK economy. And that, I think, is an approach that people would rally behind. And
Boris,
I
let me
think if you
ask
did
you-
that, people would be very supportive.
With this immigration aside, I mean...
But you can't do that as long as we're in the EU. You can't do that.
OK, well, look, with the immigration stuff aside, the one thing that bothers me much when I watch this, and I'm thinking about where should I vote with this, is the scaremongering. The sort of David Cameron and the Remain Party doing this whole doomsday talk about if we leave the EU...
Well, I'm with you.
This could all go... No, but that's what worries me. But then both sides have got the argument. I watched the referendum and I saw, obviously, the debate, and it just seems someone's lying somewhere, because for every argument, there's a counter-argument. Who's lying? Who is lying?
Well, look, I think that the Prime Minister was right a few months ago when he was very clear and said we'd do well outside the EU. I think Lord Rose of the Remain campaign, he wants us to stay in, but he actually said there would be no economic shock, and what you would see is that people on low incomes actually got a pay rise. And I think that's really worth thinking about. I also think the people who are right are people like Anthony Bamford of JCB, runs the biggest private manufacturing company in this country. Basically, they're building Britain, they're building cities around the world. I'm really interested in what he's got to say, because you would have thought, what we're talking about in the EU is this single market. And guys like Bamford or James Dyson, who makes the hairdryers and the vacuum cleaners, whatever, that is what it should be all about. Free movement of those sorts of goods within the EU. But both those heroes of British manufacturing think we would be better off out, and we would create what James Dyson says, if we create more wealth and more jobs if we come out.
And what happens to you and David Cameron after this? Can you remain friends? I mean, do you feel that you've sort of betrayed him now?
Everybody... Well, we were just saying, and Ryan was just saying, everybody wants to have facts. I think people are profoundly uninterested in the relationships between...
I'm really interested.
We love a gossip, Boris.
I know, but you see, I know it's a perfectly legitimate line of inquiry, but my...
Thank you. Again, I'm glad you approve.
I do approve. But my view is that in 8 days we got to go, I think the fundamental issue is the choice for our people and our country. We've got a historic opportunity. Take back control of huge sums of money, take back control of our democracy, and lead the way for reform in Europe. There are hundreds of millions of people around the European Union who are fed up with how remote, how unaccountable Brussels is. They're fed up with the whole system. The Eurozone is a disaster area. It's got, youth unemployment running at 51% in Greece, 45% in Spain.
Yeah.
It needs change.
And
if the British people speak up for change, I think it'll be a massive force for good.
And will it be a disaster area for you if you lose? What happens to you? What happens to you next? We do.
Who cares? I mean, nobody. I think this is much more important than.
How would you feel going forward with Britain if it does remain in the EU? How will you feel going forward with that?
Well, I suppose that what you mean, Ryan, is do I think that we should continue to campaign for reform? Yes, but we won't get it. And you're hearing now from the Remain campaign that they're now saying, oh, well, the deal wasn't any good. You remember the Prime Minister, there wasn't any good after all. We've got to try again and get some better stuff on borders. I think the Labour Remain guys are saying that. But that is what we've proved beyond any doubt, whatever, is that is not possible. We had the maximum moment of leverage earlier on this year. If we surrender and vote to stay in, They won't give us a sausage. They won't give us anything.
Yeah.
And this is the moment. The only way to get change is vote Leave next Thursday.
And obviously, clearly, when it comes to politics and your personal life, you like to keep those things very separate. And whenever I've asked you anything that sort of urges towards the personal thing, you
haven't asked me anything so far, but...
No, I'm not going. But all I'm going to say is that it does feel like this campaign has been quite personal against you, and people have said terrible things. There's been things about your hair. There's been things about this. Does it hurt?
No, and also just to get back to the point on which one of the many points on which you and I are in complete agreement. I think it's what people want to hear is the facts. They want to hear what's going on. They want to hear what we could do on day one. And what we're saying today from the Leave campaign is we could take back control of our immigration system, Australian-style points-based immigration system, take back control of huge sums of money. So you could have £100 million a week for the NHS. You could cut VAT on fuel, which could be very, very helpful for loads of people.
Boris, I hate to cut you off. I'm so sorry because we are running out of time.
Okay.
But very quickly,
the final point is you end the supremacy of the European...
Before we go to the break, very quickly,
very
quickly, how confident are you that you're going to win?
Look, it's in the hands of the British people, and they're very great and very wise, and they will think about it hard, and I hope very much they come to the right decision.
Boris, thank you so much for
joining us.
Hello, YouTube. For more of the same, just click here. And don't forget, you can subscribe for even more of these amazing videos exclusive to our channel.
But to go for your 13th, say, you've said to us that you're addicted to having babies.
Yeah, I'm literally addicted to having babies.
Can you not put that energy into looking after the ones that you've got?
And that energy does go into that, but I can't help feeling broody. I can't help the way I feel. I can't help wanting another.